last name Ibrahim. I'm the Deputy Director with CAIR Minnesota, and today we are joined with Jacob Letourneau-Elsharkawy's family, as well as community leader Rabia. And today, representatives of CAIR Minnesota, as well as CAIR National, have been retained by the estate of Jacob in connection with the events leading up to Jacob's death in 2018. CAIR filed an action in federal court on behalf of Jacob's estate seeking justice. Today, you will hear from Jailani Hussein, our executive director. You will hear from Faith, Jacob's mom. You'll hear from Alex Shaw, one of our attorneys, as well as Lena, an attorney with CAIR National. And to begin, we'll go ahead and start with Jailani Hussein.
Thank you. Jailani Hussein, Jaylani Hussein, the Executive Director of CAIR Minnesota. On April 29th, 2018, the Minnesota community, and most importantly, Jacob's family, lost a bright young man who was 15 years old to what we are calling a systematic, violent, driven Islamophobic bullying that led to him feeling the only way out from this world was to commit suicide. Today and this month is Suicide Prevention Awareness. And in this case, we believe this suicide was preventable. Jacob was bullied systematically for years. For Jacob, his school became the most dangerous place. His administration and teachers' silence, inaction became compliance to the physical violence and abuse that Jacob endured from students. Concussions, contusions, broken collarbone, being slammed to frames of the metal doors on the bus windows, and the constant psychological, verbal assaults that he endured did not warrant a response that we've hoped for our parents or any community member, from the administrators, the teachers. All of this happened to Jacob because he was Muslim. He's the only known Muslim boy in that school. When did it start? It started when his mother started to wear the hijab, or the Muslim garb for women. We know bullying is up. We know that suicides are up in our schools all over this country. However, we believe this particular bullying was preventable. We believe that this type of targeting has happened and continues to be happening all over this country. Muslim students today report that bullying, they are targeted for being Muslim, whether being called terrorist or among other things. We know we are now living in a more polarized society where Muslim families and communities are under attack. Our mosques are under attack from white supremacist groups who bomb our mosques. Our families cannot enjoy meals in places like Stillwater without having white supremacist militia to terrorize them and intimidate them. We have our businesses who are damaged. Just literally a block away from here, nearly 7 businesses were vandalized by someone who was targeting. Islamophobia is happening. It is happening all over this country, and it's happening right here in Minnesota. We're seeing this rise of hatred toward Muslims become extremely violent and deadly. And Jacob is part of this tsunami of hatred that has led us to create conditions of unsafe in places that we assume to be the most safe. Today, we believe that we are here today because the pleas that Jacob made, the pleas that the mother, Faith, made to the school and administrators were unheard, is today also being unheard once again. Today, the school district is refusing to accept responsibility, refusing to protect further new students and other students from this type of systematic bullying. This failure is evident and shows true to the nature of why Jacob was not helped in the way we assumed or hoped for. Schools should be a safe place. Bullying should not be a reason for students to commit crime. Bullying because of your faith should not be a reason for someone to feel unsafe. In the days leading up, there was an incident called Punish a Muslim Day, just in the month before Jacob was killed. This was a national attack on Muslim students and people and Muslims. Many families did not send their children to school on that day. While many incidents did not happen, it terrorized many, including Jacob, who told his mother that he would not go to school or be afraid on that day. What we have learned in this case is two things. We have learned that Islamophobia is deadly. We have also learned that institutions that are there to serve and protect our students are not doing so. And we have no other option today other than to sue the Chisago School District and to hold them accountable for the neglect and the harm that they have caused our community, and particularly to Jacob. Jacob today would be preparing himself for college. He would be getting ready to do the wonderful things that many teenagers do. But he's not here with us because the teachers, the administrators did not do what they were supposed to do. So today we asked many of the community members in Chisago and across this state and across this country to take bullying seriously, to make sure that teachers who are now going back to virtual or on school premises to recognize this type of behavior. When a student is physically assaulted over and over and over, and nothing is done about it to protect that student, many students feel that the only option may be suicide. And we need administrators and school teachers and family members to take this issue seriously. We stand with Jacob's mom and family today. This lawsuit is about protecting children. It's about making sure school districts who say that they comply are actually complying, that they use empathy, not policy, to make sure students are protected. Bullying is at all-time high, and most sadly, teenage suicide has exponentially grown in this country. We need schools to become places that are safe, that prevent this type of bullying that leads to suicide. That's all we're asking for. We've tried everything. We've tried to work with the school district. We tried to reach out to them. We tried to mediate the situation, but now we are suing them. And we hope that many of the teachers and parents in that school district can stand with Jacob and can stand with the hundreds of families across this country who their loved ones are not with them today because school administrators and teachers did not do what they were asked to do. And with that, I will now ask Faith to come up with her family.
I stand here before you 2 years after Jacob ended his life in order to end the torment and injustice he endured on a daily basis at Chisago Lakes School District. Losing him has been the hardest thing I've had to endure in my life. We've lost a son and a brother who was becoming her friend as he grew. Someone I knew when I was gone, he'd take care of his sister, and she him. Now she'll be alone in this world. We lost a son who would make us laugh and smile. We lost a son who treated people with care and equality. Jacob would amaze us with his talents, and now his room remains empty of him. All we have left is a grave to visit, pictures to look at, and videos he made. There's no Jacob to hold and talk to and let him know that we love him. No Jacob for his sister to celebrate with and be teenagers with. No Jacob to see grow. Every Jacob day since the EMT said your son is dead after I begged him over and over to save my son, has been a struggle filled with heartbreak, an empty hole in our hearts we could feel, just like how empty spaces used to fill and fill so brightly. We feel robbed that his life ended because Chisago Lakes School System turned a blind eye to the bullying that happened, and it chose to engage in the behavior too. We won't get to see Jacob drive, go to prom, graduate, get married, have kids, celebrate Eid with us. But I hope in the end of this, we get justice for Jacob. We get to tell his story, and we get the changes in the school systems, not just Chisago Lakes, but all the school systems. Then maybe Jacob's death wasn't in vain, and other kids could go to school feeling safe and being safe.
Now we'll bring Lena. She'll be on TV with us here. Now we'll bring Lena. She'll be on TV with us here.
No mother should have to find her child, who in this instance was a 15-year-old child hanging in a shed after a suicidal death. There is no pain that's worse than the loss of a child. And my heart goes out to Faith and her family for the courage, strength, and resolve that they have shown to stand up for justice for Jacob and to ensure that what happened to him doesn't happen to any other child ever again. Jacob's suicidal death didn't just happen. It was the inevitable and tragic culmination of Chisago Lakes school officials' total and reckless disregard for Jacob's safety and well-being. Jacob's death was the result of the complete failure to do anything at all to protect him from the rampant, violent, and near daily aggression and bullying that he endured almost every single day that he was a Chisago Lakes student. No matter how much worse or how much more dangerous it became, Chisago Lakes school officials did nothing to protect Jacob. They did in fact do something though. They ridiculed Faith and Jacob every time they reached out for help, every time they complained about the rampant bullying. When Jacob was thrown against a metal door frame, causing him to lose consciousness and to suffer a concussion, Chisago Lakes school officials determined that it was a friend being too aggressive and didn't do anything to address the issue. When Jacob was choked by another student, Chisago Lakes school officials did nothing. When Jacob was mocked for being Muslim and for being a special needs child, when Jacob was called a gay terrorist, bomberman, and retard on almost a daily basis, Chisago Lakes school officials did nothing. When Jacob was punched repeatedly in the face, his head, his chest, when he had his hair ripped out of his scalp, causing him to suffer a concussion, again, Chisago Lakes school officials did nothing. When Jacob tried to reach out to his mother for help, the assistant principal told him not to text his mother or he would break his phone. Instead, Chisago Lakes school officials disciplined him over and over and over again. Each time he was bullied, and each time he or his mother called for help. When Jacob's mental health condition, when his anxiety, stress, depression, anger, and rage was visibly increasing at a very dangerous pace, Chisago Lakes school officials responded by disciplining him even more. The outrageous conduct by Chisago Lakes school officials caused Jacob's death by suicide. This pattern of inaction by Chisago Lakes schools can't be left unchecked. Until this day, Chisago Lakes Schools has refused to acknowledge any wrongdoing. It's failed to implement effective policies to address violence, bullying, and discrimination in its schools. For that reason, this morning we filed a lawsuit in the United States District Court in the District of Minnesota on behalf of Faith and Jacob's estate to hold Chisago Lakes school officials accountable and to implement district-wide reform to implement effective policies to prevent the violence, bullying, and discrimination that caused Jacob's death. Despite everything that Jacob endured, Jacob was proud of his faith. And the day before he died, he wrote, "Religion is my rhythm." I see his strength and resilience in Faith, his mom, and it's our hope that her courage in stepping forward to challenge the injustice that happened to her child and to her family will not only make a difference in the lives of Chisago Lakes School students, but in the lives of students across the country. Thank you. Her courage in stepping forward to challenge the injustice that happened to her child and to her family will not only make a difference in the lives of Chisago Lakes School students, but in the lives of students across the country. Thank you.
Could you say your name, ma'am, and spell it in your...
Her courage in stepping forward to challenge the injustice that happened to her child and to her family will not only make a difference in the lives of Chisago Lakes School students,
Do you have
but in the lives of students across the country.
First name is Lena, Lena. And last name is Masri, Masri.
Masri.
Yes, and she is the attorney at CAIR National. And then now we'll have Alex Shaw from Phoenix.
My name is Alex Shaw. It's ALECSHAW. I'm a civil rights attorney with CAIR Minnesota. Jacob's death was the result of systemic failures on the part of his school district, and others who had the legal and moral responsibility to ensure that he had a safe and healthy educational learning environment, free from bullying based on religion or disability. This tragedy is compounded by the fact that the bullying that led to Jacob's death had been reported to educators and administrators repeatedly, and yet was allowed to persist. When Jacob was targeted by bullies for his disability and singled out for harassment because of his religion, he and his family did everything they could to bring this bullying to the attention of school officials. But their concerns were dismissed or ignored, and their requests for intervention went unanswered. Too often, their reports of bullying resulted in further harassment and retaliation. The school district was aware of the discrimination and harassment that Jacob was suffering, and it failed in its duty to stop it. Bullying should have been stopped before other students accused him of being a terrorist and called him a member of ISIS. It should have been stopped before the verbal harassment turned into physical violence, causing bruises, concussions, and trips to the emergency room. It should have been stopped after the very first report, long before it resulted in this tragic loss. Sadly, what happened to Jacob was not an isolated incident. More than half of Muslim students in the United States report being bullied at school for being Muslim, and over 25% report being bullied by teachers and school staff. At CAIR Minnesota, we hear from far too many Minnesota families about Islamophobic bullying and harassment in schools. In March of this year, before in-person classes were canceled due to the COVID-19 pandemic, we received over half a dozen reports of Muslim students being bullied because of their religion. By filing this lawsuit, we are not only seeking justice for Jacob and his family, we are seeking positive changes in how the Chisago Lakes School District and other schools in Minnesota address bullying. Every student deserves to be safe at school, to be protected from violence, and to be free from discrimination. The Chisago Lakes School District failed to provide Jacob with the support he needed as a student with disabilities and failed to protect him from religiously motivated bullying and physical violence. While we can never bring Jacob back, by filing this lawsuit, we hope to ensure that no student, no family, no community must endure this pain of loss again, and that those responsible for educating and protecting our children are held responsible for their failure to do so.
And now we'll have you.
My name is Rabia Abdi, Ruqia, last name Abdi. I'm a parent, community leader, family and children advocate, and I'm here to support family of Jacob, and the mother and the family are here, Faith, and Jacob died. He committed suicide in 2018 as a result of bullying from his school. Bullying is a serious thing, but this was as a result of also an Islamophobia. He is bullied, and however, as a person who has a knowledge of child development, and I also educate parents about in helping their children, understanding what they're going through. It bothers me so much to hear this kind of thing happening in the United States of America, where everybody came and is trying to live peacefully and express their religion and whatever they want. However, and what happened to Jacob is not because of, I don't think there was no policy, and every district has a policy, but it's under the shelves. And this is our policy, just to mention when problems arise. But the problem that we are having in the schools is a culture. There is a culture. The environment is a third teacher. If the environment is not having, like, if we don't have a chairs over here and we ask people to come and say, oh, sit down, it's very clear that we are not welcoming them. So setting up an environment that's not safe is not an excuse, especially right now. I would love this opportunity to be a preventive measurement that the school districts devise, especially this time when most of the students are in distance learning and online learning, which is already confusing our youth and children, let alone a child who is differently abled. Children who are achieving their academic goal are having difficulty right now. And I would love teachers and administrations and also and leaders of the state and the nation to come together and devise a plan so that this tragedy doesn't happen again to anyone who is saying, I'm an American, I live in this land, the land of opportunity. It's very upsetting to see this happening again and again. And also it's very clear, and it was very clear that Jacob, when Jacob started expressing and the religion, it became a different tone, different environment, and the environment was hostile. And students just do what they see is okay to do. If they see the administration is not strict, the staff members are not strict, they're going to do whatever they want. Now it can happen behind the screens that we are saying, and students are trying to learn. So my plea and ask from educators is to create a safe environment. Our children deserve not only safe environment to achieve their academic goals, but also a brave environment where they can express who they are and who they want to be. Thank you so much.
That concludes the press conference. I just wanted to add that one of the darkest days for me at CAIR Minnesota, I'm asked to lead this organization and particularly Islamophobia in our state. And the darkest day in office and working at CAIR Minnesota was the day of learning what happened to Jacob. And the reason why is when our youth are feeling this type of pressure, where they feel their faith has made them a target, their faith is the reason why people are threatening them, it is extremely difficult. We try to create awareness and education about the impact of Islamophobia. We know that this is happening everywhere. And I know the most vulnerable people who are targeted are children. And when children feel they have no way out and the only way out is suicide, I think it's a dark day. And I personally believe Jacob's death will haunt our state, but we have an opportunity to change and to save lives and to save youth's lives and to hold our students accountable when they commit these types of attacks, and for school districts not to sit aside. When parents take their children in the morning and hope that they are sent to an environment where it's safe and a learning environment, but in fact, for Jacob, it was one of the most dangerous places he could be in. So with that, we conclude the press conference. If you have any questions, we'll be happy to answer. And we will make the complaint available via physical or even through email.
Can the family say a little more about Jacob's disability? It was depression, anxiety, anything else that you could be able to share?
He had ADHD and anxiety disorder. He had some health issues as well that doctors would send instructions to the school every year. Like, he had pretty severe asthma.
Thanks.
Any other?
Yeah, I have like 3 or 4.
Okay.
Why are you filing the lawsuit now? What about this moment made you do this as opposed to last year or whenever?
So I think we've tried to go through the state process, particularly with an investigation with the Department of Education, we wanted to see if the school was willing to take this matter seriously, but all we have gotten from them since the day one, and what this family has gotten from them since the day they pretty much enrolled their children there, is stonewalling, deflecting, and not taking responsibility. We believe this school district is not only negligent, but I think this school district has a lot of problems. We know also the last time when we shared this story to the community, we've heard overwhelming support from families in Chisago County who also expressed a lot of frustration with the school district. So we believe that this school district has a lot of tensional issues. And to note another case, we also helped a Muslim cemetery that was denied by the Chisago County. So there is a pattern of behavior there in that community that is not tolerant toward Muslims. And that cemetery eventually was reversed after we had to have a threat of a legal action. So we believe this legal action is a way to bring justice for Jacob. And we believe the school district is not interested in recognizing their failure in this process. Do you have one more question?
What does the lawsuit seek, or what are you asking for in the lawsuit, if I might ask?
The lawsuit is seeking damages. I don't have any further specifics on that today.
Damages in terms of what?
I would refer you to the complaint and get your copy of that.
One of the things you mentioned, and this is maybe in the complaint too, was that the district at times participated in the bullying. Can you explain what that means?